Rebirth of the craziest female student. Is this the trash who took the top spot from our wanting? Is she even good enough? In an empty classroom, a group of youths in battle fatigues surrounded a gasping girl, bombarding her with insults. You suck at learning. You suck at training. How can you compete with our wanting? You'd better wise up for the upcoming competition, or we'll deal with you right now. Wen Lianhua wrinkled her forehead in disgust. Tables and chairs were scattered all over the room after the fight, making the place look chaotic. A hand viciously grabbed the girl's long hair, yanking it back and revealing a bloodied face. Yi Yunqi furrowed her brow briefly as the pain forced her eyes to snap open. An icy, ruthless glint flashed in her dark eyes, causing everyone to flinch in shock. Damn, how did this piece of trash become so fierce all of a sudden? Amid their surprise, Yi Yunqi's frosty eyes came alive as she regained some clarity. This place was school? Training? Shouldn't she be at the frontier executing a secret mission? Why was she here? And why was she surrounded by students? Her expression darkened. Could this be Rebirth? What are you staring at? I'm warning you. Only our wanting can come out on top in this exercise. You, successors of the Yi family, are only fit to be our wantings. To hell with it. Yi Yunqi's gaze turned murderous. She reached out to grab the hand yanking her hair and gave it a vicious twist. Snap! Ah! Wen Lianhua cried out shrilly as she staggered backward and fell to the ground. Her wrist was twisted out of shape, and she couldn't stop crying out in agony. It's broken! It's broken! This piece of trash broke my wrist. Her wailing shocked her peers. Everyone jumped in surprise. This piece of trash, who couldn't even take part in the all-round practice, had now broken Wen Lianhua's hand. How could this be possible? Patui, capture her. As Wanting said, she must not reach the finish line. The students started to panic. They swept aside the tables and chairs and lunged toward Yi Yunqi. Yi Yunqi wiped the blood from her face and slowly got up amid the scattered textbooks. Her dark eyes were gloomy, and her imposing manner was frightening. Her naturally beautiful face was veiled with a facade of bewitching ruthlessness. Now, she was like angry red spider lilies blooming with vengeance, radiating a razor-sharp edge that would make anyone shudder. She was a stark contrast to her earlier weakened self. The students had made a fool of themselves. This version of Yi Yunqi was terrifying. Even then, the students swarmed toward her. Yi Wanting was the perfect all-rounder scholar, the goddess of Empire Middle School. Whereas this Yi Yunqi would, at best, be a piece of trash all her life. Despite facing a group of students, Yi Yunqi didn't feel an ounce of fear. With a disdainful upward turn of her lips, she lifted a leg in an outward kick. However, the initial force of that kick softened instantly as Yi Yunqi frowned and quickly changed tactics, leveraging her opponent's momentum to perform an over-the-shoulder throw. Before the first opponent was done shrieking, she had shrugged off the second opponent's arm. Cries filled the classroom. How had Yi Yunqi suddenly become so strong? This piece of trash, who stayed at the bottom of all classes, whether literacy or physical education, had now beaten them all to a pulp. The students went nuts. Yi Yunqi, however, nonchalantly stepped through the bodies struggling on the ground and slowly pushed open the classroom door. Outside, the sun was shining brightly, and the school radio was broadcasting a segment on the current competition. Year 3 students taking part in the annual all-round drills competition, please take note. Get ready to commence as soon as possible. You're competing among the best in the Yan Kingdom and will only attain honor if you consistently incapacitate your opponents and work your way to the finish line. That will be your first step towards stepping into the elite institution of higher learning at Royal Duke University. Reborn, indeed. Furthermore, in Year 3, facing the final examination of the physical education class, a real-life wargame. However, this was just an appetizer for her. In her previous life, she was Yan Kingdom's strongest lone warrior. Bottom of the class? Trash? Ha! You people had underestimated Yi Yunqi, hadn't you? The king of lone warriors, it wasn't just empty talk. Yi Yunqi. You trash, you can dream about taking part. Someone was still trying to sneak an attack. Instantly, Yi Yanqi dealt a blow, but realized that both in speed and strength, she had weakened. Damn, everything had changed in a waking moment. Never mind. Take care of these students first and then train more afterward. Wouldn't that bring her back to her peak? A nimble and swift high kick, with a stylish squatting sweep of her leg, she wiped out the enemy troops like casually splitting bamboo. A deadly blow to the temple, a furious kick to the crotch. Vicious. Survival was the highest priority on the battlefield. It could turn angels into devils. Before long, the tide had turned. The predator became the prey. That harmless little rabbit who lay gasping on the ground had become the alpha wolf. Amid the strewn bodies on the ground, Yi Yanqi casually lifted her long, sweat-drenched hair and removed her dirt-covered camouflage jacket. Under it, her body, clad in a camouflage print singlet, was not yet fully developed but imposing all the same. The young girl lifted her gaze lazily and gave a bewitching and dazzling smile. Her dark eyes, at that moment, gleamed with a pervasive evil presence. If anyone were to look upon Yi Yanqi now, she would surely send their heart throbbing wildly. They would have fallen at her feet and proclaimed her their queen. After sorting everything out, she smiled to herself. Her youthful body felt okay, though it lacked strength and would greatly benefit from training. As she contemplated this, a wave of joyful cheering resonated in her mind. Ding! Hello host, Rebirth mission. Defeating little rascals completed. Successfully unlocking Awesomeness Express physical strength increased by 2 bars. Character attribute tentatively labeled loser, which can only be unlocked upon reaching the upper limit of Awesomeness Express. Yi Yanqi was taken aback. Character attribute? Was she still dreaming? Host, please accept the reality, embrace your rebirth journey, work on being adorable, and slap yourself. Oh, sorry, focus on earning Awesomeness Express. Being adorable and slapping herself, Yi Yanqi smirked. What was that supposed to mean? She turned around, her dark eyes holding an unconscious hint of arrogance, just as the system chimed in her head again. Ding! Awesomeness Express. +1. What on earth was Awesomeness Express? She lightly massaged her forehead and looked at the bodies around her. The system fell silent. Incredible. To test something, Yi Yanqi randomly grabbed a body and slapped it across the face. Ding! Awesomeness Express. +2, haha, so that's how it worked. What a ridiculous system. Ding! Insult to the system. Awesomeness Express -3. Tisk, there went her gains. This system was really asking for it. Host, if you insult the system again, you will be banished to your original form. Also, your original body has been destroyed. Destroyed? Why was she hearing this now? Did that mean she couldn't go back? Yi Yanqi frowned but begrudgingly accepted the truth. Still, no one, not even the system, could threaten her. Her eyes flashed with determination, making the system tremble in her mind. Clearly, previous players had been sweet and innocent, but now there was a fierce newcomer ready to challenge the system. They should be worried. The system felt a chill, realizing that daily life with this new master would be anything but easy. Hello, Wen Lianhua. Do you copy? Have you dealt with that troublesome Yi Yanqi? Repeat. Have you dealt with that troublesome Yi Yanqi? Amidst the chaos of overturned furniture, the black communication device beeped. A sweet yet urgent voice broke through. It was Yi Wanting, the daughter of second uncle and the mastermind behind this bullying episode. No, this was not an isolated incident. Every time she had been tormented, Yi Wanting was involved. Yi Yanqi chuckled as she picked up the device. With an indifferent tone, she replied, Wanting? Yi Yanqi. Yi Wanting sounded shocked on the other end. She hadn't expected Yi Yanqi to answer. Hadn't she instructed Wen Lianhua to handle Yi Yanqi? Why was she still alive, using Wen Lianhua's device? Yes, it's me, Yi Yanqi grinned, her eyes menacing. You'd better hope I don't find you, or else. Zap. The abrupt disconnection indicated that Yi Wanting had hastily ended the call. Yi Yanqi laughed and tossed the device aside. Stretching her neck to relieve tension, she felt refreshed. Regardless of the rebirth, her priority was to start anew. This was the final competition of year 3, and she couldn't afford to let her enemies off that easily. Meanwhile, on the other side of the open countryside, Yi Wanting's face turned ghostly pale. Was that really Yi Yunshi's voice? It sounded so ruthless. Just hearing it sent chills down her spine. This competition among third-year students would determine their admission to Zhenyao High School and whether Yi Yunshi would be permanently sidelined. Thus, she had to ensure Yi Yunshi's downfall. Host. The system protests vehemently. Your character's attribute is supposed to be useless. But you weren't useless at all just now. I will reduce your awesomeness express. Oh, didn't you ask to increase your awesomeness express? Was it not suitable to counterattack now? The system fell silent. Yi Yunshi glanced sideways and laughed. She had a robust and majestic air around her that made her so beautiful that it was breathtaking. She was both beautiful and handsome. Even the system couldn't help but squeal over her looks. Hey, system, I had done the controls according to the requests. You don't allow me to gain awesomeness express. And now you're protesting? Who gave you the right to do that? Her cold voice and insistent stubborn attitude made the system cry. It knew that she wasn't someone good to negotiate with, although she was unreasonably attractive. After struggling with its thoughts for really long, the system relented. Ring, awesomeness express +10. Alright, next time I be your lackey, and you can be the boss. However, your character's attribute is supposed to be useless, thus, you must not attain the first prize for this competition. Roger that. She waved her hand, and her gaze swept through the surroundings with wariness. The people in the school were long gone, and it seemed like everyone had gone to the competition. She was probably the only one left. It was all right, though. Yi Yunshi would try her best to catch up with the rest. She had wholly accepted all the memories of this body. As the weak Ms. D of her declining family clan, if she wasn't able to take up the role of the successor, she would be hidden and killed. Yi Wanting was someone who was eyeing her position, wanting to push her down. However, Yi Wanting seemed to be more anxious than she thought. If not, she wouldn't have troubled herself so much. Whatever, this shell had changed its owner. Yi Yunshi laughed and assessed her surroundings. She had reached the wild forest, and the destination was at her 10 o'clock direction. She needed at least 2 days to arrive there, and she didn't have anything on her. Thus, she had to get some supplies. She suddenly stopped in her tracks and subconsciously looked at the mud. The mud was new. Although it had been hidden very well, Yi Yunshi had come across these traps many times and was able to spot it easily. She squatted down and took a closer look. It was indeed a trap. Did that mean there was someone around her? Yi Yunshi calmly surveyed her surroundings, and in her brain, she was thinking of how she could kill the person responsible for this trap and seize his resources. That was something that she was lacking the most. Just as she was thinking, she felt a rush of cold wind behind her. She dodged subconsciously and barely avoided it. It was a man who was really handsome and aggressive. He stood there as if he was a king. The man quietly sized her up with his pitch-black eyes. They seemed like they could see through everything, and it made Yi Yunshi feel pathetic. His aura was super shocking. His power could be felt so strongly, and it instantly made Yi Yunshi lose. What a dangerous man. Yi Yunshi clenched her teeth. This was supposed to be a student's competition. Why was there a god-tier man coming out of nowhere? This man's aura was equal to that of the strongest prince player. Damn it, should she run? She looked behind the man in the corner of her eye. She could briefly see a tent and a bunch of resources in the shadows of the trees. Besides the guns for the competition, he even had food. Should she rob them? Yo, little trash, you're that girl? Behind her came a mocking voice. Zhang Wei walked over leisurely with a few other students. It was as if he didn't see the man and was just reaching for Yi Yunshi. Are you trying to seduce someone again by stripping yourself so cleanly? Don't tell me you're trying to get someone to bring you to the final destination by doing so. Haha. You can try to beg me since the only thing left of you is your lowly body. As Zhang Wei spoke, he stared at the newly developed small boobs under Yi Yunshi's singlet with a perverted gaze. Suddenly, he stuck out his hand subconsciously. Before he could touch Yi Yunshi, however, the latter had already raised her hand and slapped Zhang Wei hard on his face. Ugh! The side of his face she had slapped started to swell, and blood spilled from the bottom of his lips. Jiang Wei was furious, and he turned his head in anger. In the stunning and lush background of the forest, this arrogant young girl was so beautiful it was like a picture. Her gleaming black eyes and scarlet lips that curved into a smug grin made her look so enchanting that it was mesmerizing. This trash was beautiful and her beauty brought a sense of seductiveness. It was enough to captivate one completely. FCK, she was really darn beautiful. Ding, awesomeness express +10. Jiang Wei was stunned and looked at her unblinkingly. Jiang Wei, he snapped back to his senses when the people around him started calling out to him. To think he was stunned by that piece of trash. He spat out a mouthful of blood and waved his arm as he instructed. Get her, Sister Wanting said. No matter what, she is not to appear at the finish line. Haha, would it even be possible for this piece of trash to make it to the finish line? The students laughed. Although Yi Yanxi was the first in-line heir of the Yi family, she was weak like a chick without balls. She was at the bottom of the class, and her physical fitness was worth even less of a mention. So not to speak about coming in top, wouldn't it be a miracle for her to even just appear at the finish line? Enough nonsense, get her. The students lunged forward at the indifferent young girl. She lifted her frosty gaze and locked it on Jiang Wei, lifting a leg in an outward kick. She dealt a blow, leveraging on his momentum. Jiang Wei flew backward, and it shocked everyone. They looked at the piece of trash as they raised their guard. Surround her, surround? Ha! You think your grandaunt here will allow you to do that? Yi Yanxi sidestepped backward and, in a flash, slipped behind the man. She reached for the lasso hanging around his waist and spoke with a wicked grin. I'ma borrow this for a sec. As she said this, she had already withdrawn herself to launch an attack. She couldn't gather enough force, but with the lasso and her agility, it didn't take a few moves to defeat the group, bundle them tightly together, and force them toward the trap. Whoosh! The ground sank below their feet. The group with dirty faces hardly had time to react when a massive pile of rocks positioned on a tree branch directly above them fell and hit them into unconsciousness. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. 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 A string of alerts sounded. Yi Yanxi ignored it and stared coldly, pinching her chin with her thumb and index finger. A look of realization came over her face as she studied the trap. It turned out to be a double mechanism. This guy was pretty smart to have created such a sophisticated device. Nevertheless, everyone was struggling toward the finish line, so why would he casually hang around and dig a trap? Not to mention, did he really need to make it so complicated? She subtly turned back and noted that the guy appeared peeved as he looked at the ruined trap with a frown. His innate haughtiness made him seem cold and cruel. His eyes were bewitchingly pretty but possessed an incomprehensible icy viciousness, naturally instilling terror and fear in others. Yi Yanxi cast her gaze down with a wicked smile. She observed his back vigilantly and slowly turned around. Then, she charged toward the tent. The guy was in a daze but came to his senses rapidly. His body was like a precision instrument as he flew after her without a second thought. Yi Yanxi frowned inwardly. With a forceful flick of her foot, she scooped up a bag of resources. Then, she scurried into the bushes with a twist of her body as she turned back to wave goodbye. Thanks. Before the words fell, that straight and lanky figure had thrown itself into the foliage after her. His wickedly pretty face closing up. His steel-cold eyes boring into her. Yi Yanxi suddenly felt like she was being hunted by a beast. The sense of danger overwhelmed her. Tisk. This guy's indeed dangerous. Seeing that he had almost caught up to her, Yi Yanxi quickly made contact with the system. Is there a way to quickly increase strength? Yes, you can exchange 70 Awesomeness Express for 7 strength points. Do an exchange then, but it will sustain for 7 minutes only. 1 strength point for just a minute. If it's strength raised by yourself, there wouldn't be such a loss. Meaning, strength exchanged with Awesomeness Express could be expended, but strength gained through self-training was permanent? She didn't have time to ponder further. Yi Yunqi knitted her brows and called out, "Exchange it all for strength." No matter what, she had to shake this guy off. He was too dangerous. Ding! Exchange successful. Awesomeness Express. 0, Strength. 7. Ding! Exchange successful. Awesomeness Express. 0, Strength. 7. Seeing that she was about to fall within striking distance of the guy, the system suddenly took on an unusually pleasant tone. Before the guy could attack, Yi Yunqi suddenly experienced a burst of speed. She found her limp and weakened body instantly strengthening. That was right, her strength had returned. She was in peak form. She quickly lowered her body and snaked through the dense bushes, running away at top speed. Di Junxi was stunned for a moment, watching wide-eyed as the girl he had almost caught just now slipped right through his fingers and gradually put a growing distance between them. A sudden surge in speed. He frowned, a sense of viciousness about him growing stronger. Was this last stringing him along? He narrowed his dark eyes as they grew deeper and darker. His gaze was fixed on Yi Yunqi, memorizing every movement she made, right down to her last strand of hair, searing these in his memory. She'd better not let him catch hold of her. Seeing that she had successfully pulled away, Yi Yunqi smiled satisfactorily. Just 3 more flights into the thick foliage, and she would shake him off for good. The first time, taking a good measure of the distance, she fell sideways into the foliage. This shocked Di Junxi. He sped toward her, but she had already disappeared into thin air. He stood among the trees with a stone face, his icy gaze like a precision instrument scanning the environment. She shouldn't be too far off. Whoosh! A patch of distant foliage shook. Without losing a moment, Di Junxi flew in that direction. Yi Yunqi clicked her tongue. What sort of sharp acumen was this? He had the alertness and sensitivity of a hunting beast. Was he human? She looked at the time. 3 minutes left. Yi Yunqi didn't think twice and twisted her body the second time as she sunk into the foliage again. Whoosh! Di Junxi frowned. He sprung in that direction. However, like before, he found nothing as he scanned the surroundings. That young woman had vanished like a vapor, stirring a sense of anxiety and impatience in him to locate her. As someone who had snatched Di Junxi's bag of resources right from under his eyes and disappeared repeatedly, she had undoubtedly proven herself competent. His expression darkened. Not only did he not panic, but he also became even more focused and calm. He was beginning to find this person intriguing. He had to capture her. He heard the sound of rustling fabric. A barely audible sound made by friction between the fabric. It was so soft no one would have noticed it, but still, Di Junxi charged in that direction. Yi Yunqi turned pale. Most people would not have noticed that. How did this person manage to hear the slightest noise? Tisk! Yi Yunqi gathered all her strength to make a sprint. Having spotted the figure that disappeared without a trace earlier on, Di Junxi smirked as his mood suddenly lightened. Panicking now, you little rat? Let's watch who will make a slip first. Since the person who made the slip would be the loser. 1 minute more, the system reminded out of kindness. Got it? Yi Yunqi lowered her gaze. Last chance. Come on then. Whatever the case, she would not let herself be captured, not in her past life, and not now. She took a measure of the distance, aimed at her target, and made her third dash with a twist of her body. Whoosh! Whoosh! The 2 figures dived into the foliage almost simultaneously. Yi Yunqi hid in the thick bushes the second she touched the ground. In her camouflage garment, she was practically invisible. Had he lost her? Di Junxi knitted his forehead tightly as the atmosphere grew somber. His eyes swept every corner until he saw an odd color. The color of the camouflage print. Ha, little rat, I've found you. Ha, little rat, I've found you. Di Junxi broke into a faint smile, his mood lightening up once more. Having spent so much energy and having had the girl dodge him 3 times, he had finally found her all the same. It surprised him to have found such a talent in a student-level competition. He thought they were all rookies, so he had not wanted to come here initially. Having ensured that there was no way she could escape, Di Junxi relaxed. diminishing that sense of danger he was emanating. Even then, there was still something cold and distant about him. "You can come out now." It was a seductive voice. There wasn't a sign of fatigue on Di Junxia's face, although he had chased her down over a long distance. In fact, he even looked refreshed. Underneath the thick foliage, the tiny figure stayed still, its surroundings serene and undisturbed. Ha! Did Di Junxi think he could frighten her? Di Junxi was now in a good mood. To let this little lady know she had lost the game, he walked over, grabbed the camouflage garment, and gave it a hard tank. Voila! He fished out a singlet as the flurry of dried leaves blurred his vision. From the corner of his eye, a figure flashed past. By the time he waved off the floating dried leaves to clear a window of view for himself, that figure had vanished without a trace. Damn it! It was a trick. He had been fooled. Ding! Awesomeness Express +20. Yi Yunxi gave a quick smirk and disappeared quickly into the thick undergrowth. Di Junxi instantly looked around. Not a single soul existed therein. He had lost her. All he had now was the camouflage singlet in his hand. With a knitted brow, Di Junxi raised his wrist and lightly hit a button on his watch. "Yo, young Master D. I didn't think you'd activate this communication device in a training competition of this level." Mo Yuxiang made a wolf whistle, his tone full of mockery. Young Master D was indeed capable of wiping out a group of opponents with merely a lift of a finger in a trainee-level exercise like this. There was no real need for him to turn to any technology. Di Junxi completely ignored the laughter and said icily, "GPS, locate someone for me." "My god, it's a war the moment you appear. With your abilities, why would you need the GPS?" Even a rabbit wouldn't have been able to escape young Master D's clutches. To think he would need the GPS to locate a human being. Haha, this was interesting. Cut the crap, locate a. Di Junxi looked at the military-issue singlet in his hand. Perhaps that girl only had her underwear on now. A woman dressed a little differently. Dressed a little differently? Mo Yuxiang sat up with interest. The participants of this exercise were all in camouflage print. How differently could someone dress? However, when he saw Yi Yunxi from the GPS image, he knew this was the person young Master D was looking for at once. Her outfit was indeed too different. Her lower body was clad in long camouflage trousers and tough-looking high-cut boots, while her upper body was covered by a piece of underwear. Furthermore, her underwear was the sort made for young girls, with printed flowers and lace side panels, wrapped around a barely developed chest. Her youth and tenderness were rather seductive. Ooh, the little beauty is quite a stunner. It was no wonder young Master D would tap on the GPS to locate her. His taste wasn't bad. I see her, the little beauty. She's happily dressed up. For a moment, Di Junxi regretted approaching Mo Yuxiang for help. Where is she? Right behind you, next to the cliff. Ooh, Lala, young Master D. What's that in your hand? Whose singlet is that? Does it belong to that little sister? My god, I'm going to tell old master you harassed a female trainee. Di Junxi disconnected the transmission. Before teaching Mo Yuxiang a lesson, he had to catch this indecent little tramp first. Phew, finally, good riddance. Yi Yunxi smiled smugly and gleefully as she stretched her sides. The view from the cliff was beautiful, even though it was a little cold. It looked like she needed to get herself a jacket. However, she had to recharge her strength before that. She tore open the bag of resources and picked up the compressed biscuit and beef balls. Yi Yunxi started to gulp down her food. Ding! Physical strength +1. One could increase physical strength points by eating? She gulped down her food enthusiastically but found that there was no further increase in points. Strange system. Found ya? Yi Yunxi's hair stood on end as she heard the deep and gloomy voice ring out behind her. She had thought she was safe and finally shook him off, but he had sneaked up behind her stealthily. Tisk! How did he do that? She was a professional in escaping. She shouldn't have left any tracks. Yi Yunxi put away the bag of resources and turned around with a grin to look at the man who was widely known to be grave and stern. All she had on her upper body was the body-fitting garment, But even then, it did not take away her imposing manner. She placed a hand on her hip and stood there, her head held high and her posture erect. With an attitude louder than Di Junxia's, she looked at him with a broad smile. The girl was not the least bit shy. Di Junxi subconsciously tried to look away. The winds on the cliff whipped her long dark hair about her head. Her body was young and tender, but her face was enchanting and willful. Her smile was calm and dazzling, while viciousness grew in her eyes. It agitated Di Junxia's ambitious nature. You pursued me all this way for this bag of resources? Yi Yanqi raised an eyebrow. Was that worth it? Di Junxi was clueless as to why he had given chase and even utilized the GPS function. Nevertheless, he wanted to capture her. That was all he knew. Put it on. He had removed his own jacket and tossed it over to her. Yi Yanqi laughed as she wore the garment, not looking the least bit bothered. This was a man's thing to do. Furthermore, Di Junxi had a tall and broad frame. She wore his jacket like an oversized gunny bag. Although the garment hid her tender and youthful figure at once, her face was still as dazzling as ever. You are now my prisoner. Come with me. His tone was authoritative and commanding, impossible to ignore. Yi Yanqi smiled faintly and walked over to Di Junxi slowly. Then, she tiptoed to whisper in his ear. Her hot breath fragrant like a blooming flower. Catch me if you can. Her tone was suggestive, like she was trying to mislead him. As her lips parted, a cloud of light fragrance invaded his senses. It was cold as steel, forceful but mesmerizing. The man cast his gaze down in a scornful manner. She half looked up, displaying an exquisitely beautiful profile. The tilt of her eyes as she threw Di Junxi a sidelong glance was nothing short of startlingly attractive. You too? What? Without waiting for Di Junxi's response, Yi Yanqi had made a leap into the valley. Wait, he called out, shocked, as he reflexively stretched his hand out. Alas! The lass was faster and, in a flash, had disappeared into thin air. Damn it! She jumped off the cliff. She would rather jump off a cliff than be held as a hostage? How willful was she? Furthermore, this was only a competition. Damn it! Di Junxi exploded in fury, clueless at the cause of his own anger. Was it because he had failed to capture her? Or because the lass would rather jump than be Di Junxi's prisoner? Ding! Awesomeness Express +20. Although clinging tightly to a cliff face wasn't the most graceful look, Yi Yanqi was quite thrilled to hear the system alert. 40 Awesomeness Express. She could exchange that for 4 strength points. However, could she really say that this would be the last time she would meet that guy? Hence, she decided to save the 4 strength points. She lifted her head and looked around, listening carefully. She wondered if he had left. However, to be sure, she decided to hang around, literally, for a bit more. That's right. Hang around a bit more to be safe. Indeed, Di Junxi was still on top of the cliff, looking into the valley with a darkened expression. It wasn't a very high cliff, about the height of a 5-story building, but one wouldn't survive such a fall. Would that shrewd lass really jump to her death? No, no way. There must be some sort of foothold down there. The guy took a step closer to the edge to examine. True enough, a little beyond 10 meters, there was a foothold jutting out. Could she be down there? If he didn't fish her out of there, this little rat would never be able to get back up. After pondering carefully, Di Junxi turned around to loop a lasso around a tree. Then turning around, he slowly abseiled down the cliff. When he reached the platform, he looked around instinctively. There were no caves here and no place to hide. It was just an open platform that provided no cover. Could she really have fallen to her death? Di Junxi peered downward. The landscape that the rocks had formed in the valley was shallow, and there was nothing in sight. She didn't fall to the bottom then. Where was she, though? He felt a light gust of wind, and it was silent all around. A bad feeling suddenly came over Di Junxi. He spun around. The lasso he had used to abseil down the cliff had vanished. He looked up. He had no idea when the lasso had reappeared at the top of the cliff. She was now holding the lasso playfully in her hand. Hey, I've told you. No one can catch me, including you. Yi Yunshi smiled triumphantly and tossed the shimmering lasso into the foliage by the side. She arrogantly pointed at Di Junxi and said, "When I get to the finish line, I'll inform rescuers to come for you, loser." She left happily while whistling a tune. Ding, Awesomeness Express plus 50. Ha, that's decent. 50 points for a clean escape? Yi Yunshi was increasingly delighted. Suspended halfway down the cliff, Di Junxi frowned. He had been fooled, for the second time, twice in a day. The first was that camouflage singlet, the second was this cliff. This lass was certainly streetwise. To think she would put him on a wild goose chase. The guy was now in a foul mood. Soon, he smiled again. It doesn't matter. This was just the first competition. If Di Junxi didn't capture her here, there would be opportunities to do so in the school. That lass. No hurry, then. We'll take this back to the school campus. Flipping his wristwatch communicator on, Di Junxi said in his sinisterly cold voice, "Send me a rescue helicopter." Ha ha ha, very well. Why, though, aren't you going to continue to fight? The guy looked over the cliff. He had lost the game this time for sure, so he would just halt the race instead. Let me see where you are. Whoa, what a strange location. This is a cliff edge. The contour map shows you're suspended. Good lord, how did you get there? Di Junxi didn't answer. Enough of this nonsense talk. I'm giving you 1 minute. Mo Yuxiang chortled. Young Master D was irritated now. He quickly made contact for a helicopter and gleefully followed along as they headed toward the cliff. Nicknamed the most awesome person in Royal Duke, Di Junxi, the one and only young Master D, was found hanging off a cliff after dueling with a beautiful lady. Juicy stories like this came by once in a blue moon. If he were to miss this chance, he would never see it again this lifetime. As he saw young Master D, who was only donned in a singlet while standing against the mountains and wind, Mo Yuxiang could hardly suppress his laughter. Oh god, that's so cruel, he even lost his jacket. Besides that, his resources were gone, too. He didn't even have a gun with him. Now, he was only just a living person standing at a protruding part of a cliff. His face was sunken, and he looked like a lion before releasing his wrath, about to explode in anger anytime soon. Peeved, Mo Yuxiang couldn't take it any longer. That girl was so amazing. She could actually force young Master D into this state. Ha 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 ha. He was already in such a sad state. It made Mo Yuxiang really curious about what the scene was like when they were fighting. Continue laughing if you want to die. As he climbed onto the plane, Di Junxi's gaze was so sunken it could kill someone. No, I'm just curious. That girl was only wearing a bra, and the only weapon she had on her was her belt. How exactly was she able to land you down there? Damn! Di Junxi looked out of the window in annoyance. The helicopter flew through the thick forest, and Mo Yuxiang was still laughing. Bam! Di Junxi punched Mo Yuxiang once, and he landed below the chairs. Di Junxi spoke coldly, "You asked for it." Mo Yuxiang could no longer laugh. He could only cry while holding his head now. Pain, 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 pain. Host. Where are you going? If you continue walking straight, you'll arrive at the destination. You can't go there, we have agreed that you aren't getting there first. If you do so, you'll go against the character attribute of being useless. The system's warning became louder and louder. Yi Yunshi rubbed her glabella and smiled slightly. Then, do you think my performance was like that of a useless person? The system didn't speak. This was the second time he crashed after meeting this host. He crashed twice in less than an hour. Woo woo woo. Why was this host's question so complicated? It's completely different, alright. Thus, there is a loophole in your character attribute. Does not getting first mean I won't go against my character attribute? The system laughed at itself. It had deeply felt like there was a defect, even as a system that had gone through many different hosts. If not, why would it have loopholes as a system? Woo woo woo, it was really a defective item. Thus, according to your plan, as long as I don't get first, I can do anything I want, right? Yi Yunshi stopped in her tracks about 100 meters away from the destination. Then, she slowly turned around and looked at the road she took. I think S. So, oh, God. How? The system that existed with a godlike presence had actually started doubting itself. It wasn't a perfect system. Then, host, what do you intend to do? The system knelt onto the ground and placed its hands on its lap in respect as it straightened its back and kowtowed properly. In conclusion, if it was no longer a perfect system, then it would just listen to this perfect host for the time being. Yup, it would just do that then. To earn Awesomeness Express, of course. So I can break through the restrictions of character attributes. In my last life, no matter what I did, I'd be first, but in this life, I'm not allowed to do so. It really makes me so upset. The system fell silent again. It wasn't the one who set the character attribute, it was just the rules. But host, how do you intend to gain Awesomeness Express? As it was wondering this, a group of people started coming from afar. Those were the students who joined the competition. In the 2 days and 2 nights competition, everyone was in a mess and really exhausted. It looked as if all of them could faint anytime. The system was getting increasingly curious about how the host intended to gain Awesomeness Express. Unless she would camp here and kill everyone. The system reminded softly. Your Awesomeness Express will not increase if you cause trouble. Thus, host, please don't cause trouble, it will lessen your Awesomeness Express. Looking for trouble? I'm not that bored. The approaching team member had already spotted Yi Yunshi from afar. After all, there was only that lone figure on the path, so anyone could have seen her. Is that Yi Yunshi? Looks like it. How did that piece of trash get ahead of us? I recall that we had been in the lead all along. Strange, given her stamina, she should be right at the tail end. How did she get here, and on top of that, she doesn't even look tired. And we look half dead. They made a quick comparison between themselves and Yi Yunshi. The latter looked like she was in high spirits. Apart from a jacket that seemed too big on her, she was all bright and beautiful. Looking at themselves, on the other hand, they were covered in dirt and grime, having lost everything and thoroughly beaten. This didn't make scientific sense. Why didn't this piece of trash look the least bit exhausted? Ding! Awesomeness Express plus 10. 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 The system was rendered speechless. If systems had expressions, then its features would have all gone into convulsions. Great host, was this what you said about how we'd earn Awesomeness Express? I'm not stressing on it or anything. But, really, the system was stunned. Are we breaking the rules? The system replied that, well, no, not only that, it even made one think this method was too stylish. There were over 50 participating students in this competition, and if they were all to pass by this way, today's Awesomeness Express gain would be over 500. If they were to progress at this rate, they would hit 1000 in 2 days. And then they could unlock character attribute. This host would be rocketing her way to the top spot. And from then on, she would break every Awesomeness Express record. Oddly, it felt a heady rush that felt unbelievably great. Ding! Awesomeness Express plus 10. There were clearly only 6 people. Where did the Awesomeness Express points come from? The system couldn't answer this. There was no way it would admit that its awe had contributed Awesomeness Express. System contributing Awesomeness Express to the host. Indeed, it would be utterly embarrassing if its colleagues found out about this. The system clutched its face. A few of the youths looked at Yi Yunshi with a cautious expression. It was strangely pressurizing to be so delightfully greeted on the way to the finish line. It was like this young lass would fire up in the next moment to disqualify everyone else. They approached cautiously, some of them had their daggers drawn in their hands. However, Yi Yunshi did not move as they passed, not attacking. Wang Tingting turned to look at Yi Yunshi's back. Aren't you heading to the finish line? If you went there, you would get first place. They were leading the pack, and yet, Yi Yunshi was ahead of them. If she were to turn and walk forward, the top would definitely be for Yi Yunshi to take. The young girl standing in the middle of the path turned around indifferently, strands of her hair floating beautifully around her face. Her icy and domineering manner accompanied her bewitching and evil smile. Instantly, her beauty had captivated the group beyond imagination. Stunning, their hearts skipped a beat. Yi Yunqi used to be pretty in the past, but it was the gloomy and timid kind of pretty. Now, with this bold smile, she was heart-stoppingly dazzling. They liked this version of Yi Yunqi. I'm not going to take the first place. You can have it. Her nonchalance surprised everyone. She wasn't going for the top, she was letting them overtake. Listen to her arrogant and presumptuous tone. Although they wanted to say something in retort, they were at a loss for words. After all, if Yi Yunqi didn't allow it, the top spot would not be theirs. Tisk. This Yi Yunqi was so dashing that it was exasperating. Ding. Awesomeness Express +10. 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 Heavens, she could add Awesomeness Express like that. The scores were almost doubling. They had increased to 120. The system control was shocked, and then puzzled. Could this be a loophole? Of the many hosts it served, this was the one in which Awesomeness Express had increased the fastest. What should it do? Should it apply to its superiors for evaluation and maintenance? Really? Wang Tingting was somewhat skeptical. However, Yi Yunqi could not be bothered to respond to them since it was too troublesome. She simply leaned against an old tree by the wayside and closed her eyes to rest. She breathed evenly. Her profile was startlingly beautiful. One could barely tear one's eyes away from the rise and fall of her profile. However, her attitude clearly showed them that she did not want to be the first. Strange, why did Yi Yunqi seem utterly different from the way she had been previously? Ting Ting, let's go. If she doesn't want it, we do. Wang Tingting took a last glance at Yi Yunqi, and then turned around to leave. To the finish line. The finish line was just a few dozen meters away. Their victory was imminent. They could not help but feel excited. Bang, 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 bang. After a concentrated burst of gunfire, Wang Tingting and the other 5 emitted yellow smoke. They were just a few steps away from the finish line, but it looked as if they were about to lose. Damn! Sun Chao bellowed with rage. Didn't you say you didn't want to be first? Then why did you craftily shoot us from behind? Haven't you gone too far? Ha, too far? I didn't say I didn't want to be first. At the end of the road, Yi Wanting, with several others in tow, slowly emerged. Each of them was holding a gun, emitting the faint smell of gunpowder. Is this considered shooting you from behind? This competition is like a battlefield. If you let your guard down, you have no right to blame others for killing you. Yi Wanting snorted. Her companions took up the raillery. Isn't exposing your back the same as asking someone to attack? Haha, that's right. Idiots. Only our Wanting can be the first. Scum like you at the bottom is not fit to be the first. The 6 young people shook with raucous laughter. Don't go too far. Sun Chao was enraged. She charged over, intending to attack, but Yi Wanting gave her a cold look, and Yi Chungwen, who was next to her, snorted with laughter and sent them flying with the barrel of her gun. Then, she casually flicked the blood off the butt of her gun and coldly said, "According to the rules, you're already dead. Do we need to actually kill you before you understand the rules of this exercise?" Sun Chao rubbed her head. Blood seeped through her fingers and blurred her vision. This bunch was just too much. Wang Tingting raged. Since we're all dead, why did you still hit us? You were asking for it. This was really too much. They were being bullied. Did they think they could do whatever they wanted just because they were superior? That was the most hateful thing about this family clan. They were outraged but were helpless against Yi Wanting. They could only grind their teeth and glare at her. However, Yi Wanting was not afraid. No one could be bruised by a glare. You can't kill me even if you glare at me until your eyes pop out. Her voice was indolent, and her attitude was indifferent. Yi Yunqi stretched and straightened up smilingly in the shade of the tree. The breeze ruffled her lengthy hair. and a few stray strands fell over the corners of her lips, giving her beautiful countenance a domineering air. If it were me, I would kill her. Her face was so beautiful that it was shocking to hear such words spill from her lips. However, her breathtakingly beautiful eyes had a vicious and gloomy light. Her scarlet lips parted slightly, giving her smiling visage an arrogant air. Yi Yanqi was really so good-looking. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. 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 Her Awesomeness Express rose rapidly, and the system chuckled in glee. Would it be possible for her to unlock her character attribute in a day? Would it simply mean that this system was too elementary and too easy to hack? Yi Yanqi ignored the system. Her dark eyes were fixed on Yi Wanting. Smiling faintly, she said, "I like the present you had prepared for me, except it wasn't exciting enough." Yi Wanting's expression shifted subtly. Although she realized that there were people here, Yi Yanqi was the last person she expected to see. She had sent out 2 troops to deal with Yi Yanqi. Given Yi Yanqi's lack of ability, it would have been impossible for her to come this far. However, this piece of trash had made it all the way here. Not only was she on the path that they must pass en route to the finish line, but she was also ahead of them. How did this piece of trash manage to appear in front of her? "I'll give you some excitement then." Without saying another word, Yi Wanting started to fire her gun in a sweeping arc. When the people in her troop saw this, they started doing the same. If they did not get rid of Yi Yanqi, reaching the finish line now would be useless. Yi Yanqi seemed to have been anticipating the attack. She nimbly and elegantly ducked behind the tree. Bang! 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 Gunsmoke filled the air, but no one fell. Tisk! Yi Wanting gritted her teeth. "Force her out. It's all right even if you kill her." This competition would affect the overall results at the end of the term. Their only chance of getting Yi Yanqi kicked out of the Yi family was to obtain a good ranking so that she, Yi Wanting, could become the successor instead. Yi Zhongwen responded and led the others forward. Wang Tingting and the others grew tense. Although they didn't deal much with Yi Yanqi, she was at least decent enough and wasn't one who would betray anyone. Even someone like her was subject to such vicious attacks. They started to fear for themselves. As students of the attached middle school, everyone had at least some awareness of the Yi family's affairs. The first in-line successor was too weak, and the side player, Yi Wanting, wanted that position for herself. In school, she made life tough for Yi Yanqi, and now, it was worsening. "Yi Yanqi, be careful," Wang Tingting called out without thinking. "Keep your mouth shut." Yi Wanting delivered a tight slap and started giving directions. "Draw out that piece of trash." Yi Zhongwen smirked and said, "Don't worry, Wanting, this piece of trash doesn't even have a dagger on her, we'll get her." Peeved. Before he could finish speaking, a thick trail of yellow smoke appeared around him. "Yi Zhongwen, you're out. What was that? How did he die?" Yi Zhongwen was stumped. In the shadow of the tree, Yi Yanqi toyed with the pebble in her hand. A willful smile appeared on her face. "Host, are you sure you only need to convert this bit of strength? Will that be enough to deal with these people?" The system didn't think it possible. "Watch me." Instantly, she flicked the pebble. It flew like a bullet, carrying the force of the throw, and 2 puffs resounded in the air. Another 2 of them emitted trails of smoke. They were out. Having guns was a big deal. Your big sister here could disqualify you all the same with just a pebble. Yi Yanqi's dazzling face lit up with a faint smile as she moved at her own leisurely pace. Now, the devastated Wang Tingting and her cohorts were starting to see hope again. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Crap, was that a pebble? The disqualified competitors started to realize this. They were being hit by pebbles. In other words, although Yi Yanqi had no weapon, anything within her reach could become her armament. "This death-deserving piece of trash, Yi Wanting, you're next." Her icy voice rang from behind the tree. Yi Wanting shuddered and instantly hid behind the rest of the team. The pebbles flew, and with 2 puffs, a notice flashed, which showed that her two cohorts were out. She was fully exposed now. In that instant, Yi Wanting went nuts. Since when did this piece of trash become so formidable? Her team had been unstoppable, blowing off all obstacles along the way, but now, that piece of trash had gotten in their way by hurling a few pebbles along the critical route. Yi Wanting frowned. She could see the red flag flying high at the finish line. No, she couldn't lose the game here. In any case, Yi Yunshi had no weapons. She only needed to sweep. Peefed. The stone hit her hand. Yi Wanting gasped in pain and dropped her firearms. Bad news. Without those, she would lose the opportunity to be at the top. She reached out for it, but Yi Yunshi had sprung up and moved in beside her. A flying kick, necklock, and over-the-shoulder throw. Beautifully executed in one swift motion that stunned Wang Tingting and the rest of the spectators. Isn't Yi Yunshi bottom of the class for freestyle combat? My god, her movements looked exactly like on the page from our textbook. It's too dashing. Ding. Awesomeness Express +10. Yi Yunshi grinned and tried to restrain herself. Meanwhile, Yi Wanting, covered in dust and dirt, was in such a sorry state that there were no high spirits for anyone to talk about. Let go of me, Yi Yunshi, or I'll tell Grandpa about this when I get home. Grandpa had the final say in the Yi family. Grandpa even said there was to be no incapable child in the Yi bloodline. Hence, the only successor to the clan had to be herself, Yi Wanting. Ha, up to you. Yi Yunshi shifted into a more comfortable position. The girl could carry whatever tales she wanted, but now, she only had one aim. So she couldn't take the top place if she didn't unlock the character attribute selection. 1. Never mind, Yi Wanting, you can dream about coming in top as well. First, she came nitpicking, and now, she was after every other advantage. Dream on. The rest of the teams were now approaching from a distance. This scene before them was too exciting for them to miss. They halted simultaneously to watch. Holy cow, the piece of trash Yi Yunshi actually had Yi Wanting locked in a tight grip? What was happening? The students stood there exchanging looks before finally deciding that they didn't see a thing. Time to scram. That was the Yi family's internal affairs. It had nothing to do with them whatsoever. The Yan Kingdom encouraged a military spirit. Hence, for the sake of development, many families would only keep the offspring that showed the most promise in the martial arts as successor. What about this family then? If they showed any weakness, they would be swept aside, just like Yi Yunshi. Don't you think Yi Yunshi looks really tough and beautiful today? Now that someone had pointed it out, indeed, the rest immediately saw it. Furthermore, she displayed stylish ease even when under self-restraint. She had a natural beauty that made her bright, spirited, and intimidatingly attractive. Who cares about her? Without Yi Wanting, the first place is up for anyone to grab. Let's go. Very quickly, the people left. Infuriated, Yi Wanting craned her neck to look. Yi Yunshi, let me go. If you're so capable, let's do a proper one-on-one. Crack. A slap across the face, crisp and clear. What are you doing? Yi Wanting was shocked. This piece of trash dared to hit her? Ha. Nothing, just something on behalf of Wang Tingting. Wang Tingting was visibly moved. She gave that slap on her behalf? Yunshi wasn't too bad a person. How dare you hit me? Yi Wanting was greatly angered. Did this piece of trash not know her place? Ha. I just did. Having said that, she grinned wickedly, raised her hand, and delivered another slap. Oh look, I did it again. After this, another slap. I can do this all day. Yi Wanting, who do you think you are? Yi Yunshi punctuated every part of her sentence with a slap. Though most of the people did not have a chance to see what Yi Yunshi was doing, Wang Tingting and the rest stared wide-eyed. Amazing. It used to be that, in school, Yi Wanting would inevitably bully Yi Yunshi like the latter was a sick puppy. Slaps to the face, throwing a bucket of water, attacking her in the restroom. Now, it was the other way round. What was going on? Were they dreaming? Ding! The crowd had already arrived at the destination. The host can rush toward there now. When the system's jovial voice rang, Yi Yanxi looked up coldly with sunken eyes. The system subconsciously cowered in shock. It had no choice, that was the rules. Even if Yi Yanxi stared at it, there wouldn't be any change. Ah. This system and everything about it was so troublesome. However, she suddenly thought of an excellent way to deal with Yi wanting. How much more energy can I exchange? Awesomeness Express. 290. You can exchange it for 29 minutes of energy. Yi Yanxi smiled slightly, her black orbs were filled with happiness and energy. Exchange 10 minutes for me. Ding, exchange successful. Current Awesomeness Express. 190. Energy. 10. As she felt the replenished energy, Yi Yanxi let go of Yi wanting with a smile. Hey, let's go. Let's go to the destination. Yi wanting was shocked. She really didn't understand what Yi Yanxi was thinking and planning to do. She stared at Yi Yanxi warily and stood up carefully. However, that young lady stood there lazily and didn't bother moving at all. She was not stopping her. What was she even doing? No one could say. However, there was no way Yi wanting would let Yi Yanxi off so quickly. If she couldn't achieve the first place, she would just handicap Yi Yanxi before returning. She subconsciously took out her dagger and charged. Yi Yanxi sneered. Not only did she not dodge, she even leaned forward toward her. Ha! She's actually seeking for death. A savage smile appeared on Yi wanting's face, and the speed of her dagger increased. Yanxi, be careful. There was fear in Wang Tingting's voice. The students who had arrived at the destination looked shocked, too. Yi wanting had never let off any chance to torture Yi Yanxi. This time, while she was using the practice as an excuse, she had even gotten her dagger out. Yi Yanxi would probably be stabbed till she became mesh, right? While everyone was in shock, they saw Yi Yanxi jump up with ease and kick the dagger. Then, she flipped and rolled, and with a crunching sound, Yi wanting landed on the ground on one knee, her leg bone shattered. Ah! Her pitiful cry scared everyone, causing them to have lingering fear. They all turned to look at Yi Yanxi. She stood there aloof, with her cold, black eyes staring at the one crying and shouting pitifully. Her lips were curved with a vicious smile. If grandfather knows you were last in the competition, would he still hand the Yi family over to you? The smile on Yi Yanxi's face widened, and her eyes were filled with evil intent. She then stepped out and walked toward the destination. It didn't matter if she wasn't the first, however, whoever was going to hurt her must be the last. Yi wanting lifted her head up sharply. Her gaze stared at Yi Yanxi's back in fear. Was that this useless thing's plan? She didn't want to be the last. Yi wanting clenched her teeth and stood up, chasing her as she took steps forward while bearing the pain. She didn't want to be the last. No matter what, she couldn't lose against this useless thing. Yi Yanxi sauntered. It was as if she was tempting Yi wanting to surpass her on purpose. When their shoulders brushed past each other, Yi wanting became really excited. Only the finish line existed in her gaze. Great, she wasn't the last anyone, she was stronger than the useless thing. Crack! A stone hit her calf, and Yi wanting fell onto the floor in immense pain. The destination was just a few steps away, but she could no longer move at all. However, the footsteps behind her were approaching really slowly, as if it was coming to kill her. Thud, thud, thud. This sound made Yi wanting really anxious as she chose to use her hands to crawl. Thud, thud, thud. A pair of boots casually walked across her line of sight and reached the destination before her. Yi wanting lifted her head. Her glare blurred Yi Yanxi's face, but that arrogant smile was filled with mockery, burning her eyes. Thereafter, Yi Yanxi slowly squatted down and used her thin fingers to lift Yi wanting's chin and examined her failure. Congratulations on being the last. Didn't she want her to be the last? She had returned this privilege a few times more. Yi Yanxi, her furious howl sounded out alongside a cheerful voice from the system. Ding! Awesomeness Express plus 100. Suppress and win the White Lotus Flower mission. Succeed. New map available. Empire Middle School. Mo Yuxiang stared at the picture sent by the satellite in shock. After a while, he laughed. Oh my goodness, this girl is so dashing. He didn't use beautiful or cute to describe her. He used the word dashing, which was usually used to describe boys. Mo Yuxiang sighed. There really were little girls like her who could be so brutal. Thus, she was really dashing. Why didn't I know that Empire Middle School had a girl with such good skill, and so beautiful too? Mo Yuxiang started flipping through the name list of the medial classes of the Empire Middle School until he found the description of Yi Yanxi. Hee, she's actually the useless miss of the Yi family? That was really unimaginable. How could one useless person be so strong? Then, how powerful would the Yi family's strongest person be? Wait, something is off. Didn't the Yi family decline? The Yi family is not in the Sword of the Empire. Sword of the Empire was the name for all the big family clans in the Yan Kingdom. However, since the 2 generations of the Yi family were really useless, they had been pushed out of the Sword of the Empire of the Swords rankings. Mo Yuxiang looked at Di Junxi subconsciously and realized that his black eyes were focused on that face on the student pass. That was the young girl that had tricked him twice? Although there wasn't much change in her face, he felt like there was a different aura emanating from her. It felt like they were 2 different people. So she's Yi Yanxi. Di Junxi's thin lips curved into a sneer. His evil intent instantly emerged. He was like a lion who had laid his eyes on his prey and was lazily polishing his claws, waiting for the time to tear them into pieces. Mo Yuxiang twitched his lips. Although he had no idea what this little beauty had done to anger Di Junxi, he was eager to send her some good luck. Usually, those that enter the eyes of young Master Di would end up in a terrible state. Oh yes, I heard that your grandfather had already started helping you pick your future wife. You all are really the biggest family in the Yan Kingdom, having to be the first in everything? Before he could finish speaking, Di Junxi's cold glance shot toward him. Mo Yuxiang touched his nose and giggled. Hey, you're rude. Why are you looking at me like that? I was just telling the truth. His coyness gave him a punch straight into his face. Mo Yuxiang shielded the bump on his head with his face washed with tears. What the hell, your dad was the one looking for a girl for you, why are you hitting me? This is unfair. The Yan Kingdom's foundation is still fragile, and until it can be considered a strong country, I will not get married. His cold, stern voice and uncompromising attitude as he sat there like a boss made Di Junxi look like a knife that had just been sharpened. His arrogance was spewing, and he was filled with a murderous look. He was so handsome it made one want to bow and kneel down to him. Hey, young Master Di. I love your insistence. Mo Yuxiang couldn't care less about the bump on his head. He quickly climbed up and asked with a smile, then, where do we go next to find good plant sprouts? Di Junxi's cold and severe eyes glanced across Yi Yanxi on the screen, and his thin lips said, Empire Middle School. Woo, are you sure there aren't any of your own wants mixed in it? Yi Yanxi didn't know that someone was watching her actions. She was focused on arguing with the system. This isn't right. Why is my physical strength 0 again? Host, there is no error in the system. Your physical strength really is 0. The exchanged physical strength can be used up, but what about the little physical strength from what I did? Don't tell me the addition and subtraction system was done by a physical education teacher. The system couldn't retort against this. It couldn't retaliate and counterattack against its accuser and replace her or something. Host, even food will be digested. If you want your physical strength to remain unchanged, you can only rely on training. Forget it. It should forgive her if it could and not hold her against it. Wait. No. It couldn't afford to piss her off. It couldn't even hide from her. Woo. The host was too strong and everything. It made one have a headache. That was to say, even if eating increased physical strength, digestion would use it up. Physical training was the only way to maintain physical strength. She looked at the public transport station signage. Yi Yanxi decided that she might as well forget about public transport and run home instead. In the past, she would go for daily cross-country runs that were 50 kilometers long, and it was nothing to her. She wondered if she would have the stamina now to endure all the way home. Yi Yanxi, you're not taking a car? Wang Tingting shouted across. After this exercise, her impression of Yi Yanxi had turned for the better. Perhaps it was because the girl had taught Yi wanting a lesson on her behalf. After all, Wang Tingting's face was still swollen from being beaten by the girl. Nah, it's okay. I'll run home. With a quick wave of her hand, Yi Yanxi took a deep breath, tightened the haversack on her back, and ran off. Run home? Wang Tingting was flabbergasted. Wouldn't it take 2 hours to run from the suburb to the city? She was such a weakling. Would that even be possible? Ting, the car has arrived. Oh, all right. Although she could not stop worrying, Yi Yanxi's resolute and firm posture told her that the girl was determined to run home. Wang Tingting couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for the girl. Even a piece of trash was advancing bravely. Yanxi, you are truly remarkable. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Upon hearing the prompt, Yi Yanxi strode out urgently. She had only run down one street, and she was knackered. To be precise, this body couldn't take it. Pant, pant, pant. Her lungs sounded like old bellows, and her legs felt like they were filled with lead. Every step was a great effort. Beads of perspiration formed and rolled down her forehead. Even her temples were throbbing a little from the blood that suddenly gushed in. Her body was in bad form. She had no choice but to adjust her pace, taking smaller steps, reducing the sprint to a jog. She gritted her teeth and forced herself ahead, one step at a time. Her body felt heavy. How exhausting. No, she had to continue. If she didn't train, her fitness would never improve. No pain, no gain. Did people think one could just become a lead soldier just like that? To achieve glory and wealth, one would have to go through trials and tribulations. Although she motivated herself this way, poor fitness was still poor fitness. Yi Yanxi had to stop. She leaned an outstretched hand against the wall and bent over, taking in big gulps of air. What troublesome body this was. In the distance, a car rolled to a slow halt. Di Junxia's eyes were fixed on this frail figure as he frowned slightly. She was exhausted. Back in the woods, she was as frisky as a deer. Why? That tiny figure was only taking a little rest. Very quickly, Yi Yanxi wiped her brow. When she looked up again, her look of exhaustion had vanished. Her dark eyes burned brightly as she looked into the distance. From the depths of that darkness, the determination and toughness of a soldier shone through. That sharpness in her expression, Di Junxi was stunned. The next moment, Yi Yanxi had shot off. Run. She had to run. Even if she couldn't endure it, she had to. The vocation of a soldier was to obey the command. Now, the command was to run home. She had given herself the command, so even if her body was crying out in agony, she gritted her teeth and endured it. In this lifetime, she would not only achieve what she had accomplished in her previous lifetime, she would achieve that and so much more. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Tisk. Where's this B Express coming from? Yi Yanxi knitted her brow as her figure disappeared down the path. Di Junxi smiled, his attractive features turning enchantingly sinister. What was most admirable in a person? A steely determination. An unwavering faith? No, none of these. It was charm. Yi Yanxi was indeed charming. Little lass, I'm looking forward to meeting you again in Empire Middle School. Yi Yanxi felt like she was going to die as she ran toward home. Those legs weren't hers. She was falling apart. Exhausted, she needed water. I need 3 physical strength points. She didn't have a choice but to top up physical strength. Ding! Exchange successful. Current Awesomeness Express remaining. 280, physical strength, 3. The moment the exchange was completed, her exhausted body was instantly revived. She moved her arms and legs. Every part of her felt alive even though her muscles were sore and painful. Whatever. This was better than not being able to move. The sound of the door being pushed open alerted the people in the house. A good-looking and clean-cut young man dashed out of the house and ran up to Yi Yanxi happily. Haha, little sister, you're home. How did you do in the exercise? It's alright even if you had come in last. I used to bottom the list, too. Come, let your big brother kiss you, hug you, and raise you up in the air. Ever since they were little, Yi Yunji doted on his little sister. To show his position as an older brother, he would often perform this little ritual of a kiss, hug, and raising her up in the air. Except that this time around, when he tried to lift her, he found, to his dismay, that he couldn't. Yi Yunji was rendered speechless. Was it because he was using the wrong position? With his legs apart, securing his hands under her arms on either side, Yi Yunji drew in a deep breath, held it as he gathered strength, and lifted. No, she didn't budge. Haha, don't fret, little sister, let big brother try again. I haven't had dinner, so I may not have enough strength. The young man rolled up his sleeves and then garnered all the strength he had as he called out loudly, raise you high in the air. Still, she didn't budge. This wasn't logical. Why couldn't he lift her even a bit? Yi Yunji was stumped and dismayed. The atmosphere took a sudden dip. I'm sorry, little sister, I'm too weak. Yi Yunji looked dejected. As an older brother, he wasn't able to lift his little sister and throw her into the air. What sort of big brother was he? He was a failure as a big brother. Seeing how driven to distraction he was, Yi Yunji rubbed her chin and extended her hands to hold her brother under his arms. Then she lifted him and spun around on the spot before she placed him back on the ground lightly. Yi Yunji became even more shocked. What happened? His little sister was raising him into the air. Was that an error? Big brother, happy now? Yi Yunji had a stern expression on her face. That hint of a smile in her eyes was touching. Yi Yunji was very moved. His little sister was trying to cheer him up. That little sister he had always cared for and protected was now trying to cheer him up. Aha! If Yunji is happy, big brother is happy. From now on, I'll be the one to raise big brother high up in the air. Yi Yunji's thoughts were now in shambles. I'd think not, that's too embarrassing. But you're impressive, it's only been a few days, and you've become this strong. Yi Yunji was awed of this novelty, but Yi Yunji only smiled and said, Big brother, from now on, I'll protect you. Although her life had changed, since she had come to occupy this body, this family was hers to protect. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Pro. Protect me? Yi Yunji felt a wave of warm emotions wash over him. He smiled unconsciously as he cast a tender gaze on this willful and independent young lady. Confident, attractive, and dashing. All these qualities she had lacked in the past were now so evident in her. Yi Yunji's precious Yunji was now as dazzling and eye-catching as a polished diamond. It was strange. What exactly happened during the competition? Where's Dad? In her memory, her family consisted of her dad and big brother. Her mom left her hopelessly stupid father. She had even remarried because of some other family matters in the past. It was Yi Junpo who brought up the two children on his own. The two generations of the Yi family were weak and, therefore, lost their rights to continue being a sword of the empire. One generation was Yi Junpo, and the other was Yi Yunji. Yi Junpo did not like violence but rather enjoyed literature and art. He had dreams of becoming an actor, but the Yan kingdom encouraged a military spirit. Hence, Yi Junpo was like an entertainer amongst the scholars, making him the laughingstock in his family. Even then, he embarked on the journey of becoming a director. Although everyone despised him, he went busily about his own path. Her big brother was just like Yi Junpo. He had no liking for violence, for he liked designing and spent a lot of time in his studio. He said he had a discussion with some people. It seems they are going to start shooting a film. A film? She remembered that there were no potential sponsors who thought her father was promising. He was starting to film so soon, there's a sponsor? It appears so. Last month, Dad had millions in hand. Their branch was kicked out of the main clan home base as a consequence of having two weak generations and lived in a small rented apartment in a cheap district. Although they received a monthly stipend that had been diminishing year after year, they struggled to eke out a living. Hence, a few million was not a small sum to their family. That much? Yi Yunji frowned. Strange. Since when had Dad become so capable? Bam! The door was thrown open. A figure was tossed into the house like a ball and landed rolling on the sofa, halting face up. Yi Junpo spat out a mouthful of blood and struggled to get up. Dad! Yi Yunji hurriedly helped him up, asking, "What happened?" "What happened?" A few thugs walked in, smiling icily with sticks as thick as an arm. They seemed to fill the tiny living room at once. "Your father owes us 2 million. Pay up." "That's right, pay up." One of them smashed the window panes, making them jump as the glass shattered loudly. Yi Yunji turned pale with fright as he looked at the men. What money? I don't know, ha. Great young Master Yi. Your father here wanted to make a film and borrowed money from us. We even have an IOU. Don't you know that all this money has to be returned, don't you agree?" The group leader leaned toward him. He was a ferocious-looking man nicknamed Big Brother Zhuang. "Big Brother Zhuang, Big Brother Zhuang." Yi Junpo shielded his son behind him protectively. Smiling apologetically, he said, "We made an agreement back then that I'll repay the 2 million in installments. 100,000 a month. Furthermore, this month's installment is not due yet. Big Brother Zhuang, I will repay the money for sure, but you are a wee bit early." "We have to be early," Big Brother Zhuang sneered. "You, the supposed head of the Yi family, have been ousted by the clan. So what are you going to repay us with? This is a lousy apartment, and you leased it. The only valuable thing you have." Big Brother Zhuang's eyes fell on Yi Yunchi, and suddenly they lit up. "I would have never thought you'll have such a pretty daughter. Hey, why don't you just use her as a repayment?" He raised his hand to reach toward her. Yi Junpo and Yi Yunji both panicked and lunged forward, each hugging one of Big Brother Zhuang's legs. They cried out in alarm. "Big Brother Zhuang. Yunchi is still very young. Only 16 and not even an adult yet." "Not an adult yet?" Big Brother Zhuang sneered again. "They're easier to teach when they're young." "Big Brother Zhuang, she really can't." Yi Junpo panicked and couldn't help swearing. "Back then, you said that there was a big boss who thought I was promising and wanted to invest in me. You never said this was usury. Big Brother Zhuang. This is fraud, it's fraud." Big Brother Zhuang's expression turned ugly as he grabbed the two men, one in each hand. Then he violently pushed them back and said, "So what if it's fraud? Let me tell you now that you borrowed money from me. It's all written clearly in black and white. Are you thinking of not repaying? Sure, I can spare you from the repayment, in exchange for your daughter." Big Brother Zhuang made another lunge at Yi Yunchi, causing panic among Yi Junpo and Yi Yunji again. However, the two of them were too weak and had been beaten down with sticks. They could no longer pick themselves up. "Yunchi, run." This bunch of thugs was unreasonable, and if she were caught. Yi Junpo wailed. She was his only daughter, his most precious, whom he had doted on ever since she was little. "Run." It was too late to run. Big Brother Zhuang smiled icily. Such a slim girl, it wouldn't take a bit of strength to capture her. He reached out toward the girl, but before he could react, the young girl had already locked her grip on his sturdy wrist, giving it a violent twist. Crack! Erg! The agonizing cry overshadowed Yi Junpo's wailing as everyone turned to look in astonishment. What was that? Her weak and delicate sister had just broken Big Brother Zhuang's arm. Weren't the people in this family as weak as a kid's willy? Why was this delicately pretty girl so strong? Who said you can touch me? Yi Yunchi loosened her grip coolly as Big Brother Zhuang clutched his arm in agony, sliding off to the side of the room. His underlings looked at the girl with widened eyes and dropped jaws, as though she was a monster. "This is my home. Who said you can come in? Who allowed you to hit anyone here? And who allowed you to smash the glass in my home?" Yi Yunchi took one step toward them with each question she asked. With each step, she grew increasingly icy and harsh. She was naturally pretty. The moment she stared at them with her dark, gloomy, and cold eyes, with her ruby lips and long floating hair, she looked like the angel of death that descended upon earth. What an imposing presence! The thugs shuddered, none of them daring to move. Your father owes us money," Big Brother Zhuang said through gritted teeth, still clutching his arm. He looked at her fiercely. "It's not like we're not repaying. We're repaying 100,000 every month. You've turned up to demand repayment even before it's due. Who gave you the guts?" Yi Yunchi smirked and looked at Big Brother Zhuang with an air of superiority. She continued, It's true that Yi family is a failure, but not to the extent that we have to put up with atrocious behavior. Damn, who does this silly little girl think she is? How dare she talk to us in such a way? Being shamed this way, Big Brother Zhuang was enraged and cried out, "Get her!" The men, at his command, raised their weapons and charged at her. Yi Yunqi knitted her brows and immediately made an exchange for 10 physical strength points. Then, she raised her fists without any hesitation. She had been in too many battlefields in her previous life and was no stranger to vicious and diabolical scenes. Honestly, street fight-style group scuffle with thugs was a novelty. A side sweep with her leg, a diagonal thrust with her arm, and a toss of her long hair. Each strike was accompanied by the darkening of her eyes as they flashed with a stone-cold glint. She was terrifying. Bam! 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 With just a few moves, the thugs were strewn all over the ground, moaning and groaning in pain. Big Brother Zhuang was stunned. He stared at Yi Yunqi, his mouth agape and eyes widened. Even Yi Junpo's and Yi Yunji's reactions mirrored his as they looked at the girl. Who was this skillful fighter? Was their Yunqi this strong? Wasn't it just a 2-day exercise she went to? What happened? Did she chance upon some martial arts master who was forced to impart skills to her or something? Yi Junpo rubbed his chin. This could become a movie. But, Yunqi, behind you. Careful. One of the thugs had picked himself up. He gripped his stick and brought it down with a vicious force toward Yi Yunqi. She was only 16, and although she had started developing, she was nevertheless petite in the eyes of a bunch of grown men. Anyone would think that this blow would break her skull and render her wholly incapacitated. However, before they could even blink, the girl, who did not dodge but instead faced the move head-on, balled her hands into a tiny fist that shot toward the approaching stick. Crack! The stick snapped as her fist flew through it and landed squarely on the thug's face, sending the grown man flying backward. PFFTT, the thug threw up a spray of blood from his mouth. He tumbled onto the ground, convulsing, and then lay there motionless. Everyone fell silent. That was scary. The stick was broken, but it could still knock out a few people. Was there a need to be so full of vigor? Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. After a string of announcements, Yi Yunqi turned around nonchalantly to stare down at Big Brother Zhuang. Her dark eyes were completely emotionless, colder than ice. Her ruby lips were drawn in a tight line. Big Brother Zhuang trembled as she stared at him. He no longer dared to insist on the repayment. He got up and tried to leave, but Yi Yunqi raised a leg, forming a barricade across the doorway. She swept her frosty gaze over the bunch of trembling thugs. Her ruby lips arched in a dazzling smile. Hoping to go, Big Brother Zhuang was on the verge of going nuts. They couldn't win the fight, and now she wouldn't let them go? What else do you want? Yi Yunqi lifted her chin and nodded toward the window, saying, "Pay for the glass you smashed." What the hell? Big Brother Zhuang dug into his pocket with his good hand, drew out a few hundred bills, and threw it on the floor. However, Yi Yunqi made no move to remove her leg. "What else do you want?" Big Brother Zhuang said through gritted teeth. "You hit my dad and Big Brother, medical expenses." Damn it! Big Brother Zhuang clenched his jaw. All his life, he had been a loan shark. This was the first time he failed to extort any money and even get robbed on top of that. Freaking hell, however, he could not defeat Yi Yunqi, so he could only hand over all the cash he had in his wallet. He growled, "That's all I have. Take a good look. I've emptied my wallet to the last cent." However, Yi Yunqi still made no signs of relenting. She grinned and continued, "And there's also a cost to my mental loss." Big Brother Zhuang was livid, almost going berserk. "I have no more money, your men might have some." Upon hearing this, the thugs quickly turned their pockets inside out, ensuring that they gave up all they had. Only then did Yi Yunqi withdraw her leg. However, Big Brother Zhuang was a little fearful of leaving now. He looked at Yi Yunqi cautiously and slowly inched toward the doorway. As he turned sideways to ease himself out, Yi Yanxi threw him an indifferent glance that sent his scalp numb. After this, she looked up and smiled faintly. She threw him a warning. I don't care who sent you. Just tell the person who tricked my father into this that, as long as I'm here, don't even think of taking advantage of the Yi family, because... The young girl produced a faint smile. She had a distinctly unbridled demeanor as her beautiful hair floated around her face. This family is mine to protect. Ding. Awesomeness Express +10. 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 Big Brother Zhuang shuddered as he stared at Yi Yanxi nervously. This young girl knew. Was there something wrong with the Yi family? They had ousted such an excellent member of their clan to give their entire inheritance to a collateral branch of the family? He grinned through gritted teeth and said after a short pause, I do warn you to be careful. Be careful of the one closest to you. On this note, Big Brother Zhuang quickly left. The closest person? Yi Yanxi lowered her gaze. Who could that be? Yanxi, are you all right? Yi Junpo struggled his way over to her and took her face carefully in his hand, examining her anxiously. I'm all right, she was, but her hand hurt like hell. Although physical strength had been added, her skin was still delicate. It would take some time for her to get back to that body of steel she once had. Big Brother, the first aid kit. Sure. It was only after Yi Yunji left that Yi Yanxi frowned and asked her father, Dad, how much did you borrow? Yi Junpo froze for a moment, and then, scratching his face, he replied, 2.6 million. And where's the money? It has all been channeled into the filming, rental of space, buying equipment, hiring staff. Yi Junpo observed his daughter's face carefully. Seeing that she was expressionless, he became inevitably worried. He cried, Yanxi, Dad's made a mistake this time around. I won't film anymore. I won't film anymore. Yi Yanxi noticed how remorseful the middle-aged man looked and comforted him. Dad, what did you tell Grandpa when you left the clan? Yi Junpo paused. He lowered his head and clenched his jaw. He had told his father that if he didn't become a famous director, he'd never return to the Yi family. No one made it a rule that adults are not permitted to chase their dreams. Yi Yanxi smiled gently, her dazzling face bright and spirited. Dad, let's start from scratch, and we'll take one step at a time, okay? Rome wasn't built in a day. Dad was too eager and wanted to gain success with one film. That was how he was conned. It wasn't her father who was despicable, it was the person who took advantage of his weakness and used it to trip him up on purpose. Furthermore, this was a person who was close to her. Yi Yanxi gave a snorting laugh. All it came down to was that desire to become the successor of the Yi family headship. One step at a time? That's right, one step at a time. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Yi Junpo was moved. He looked at his daughter steadily, feeling a sort of warmth he hadn't felt in a long time. What a considerate and caring daughter. His eyes instantly started to glisten like two clusters of stars, and they wouldn't stop sparkling. The first aid kit. As Yi Yunji handed the first aid box over, he realized the change in his father's mood. Why are you so happy? Because your dad has decided to take it a step at a time. It's great to have a daughter. Dad is just happy, ha ha ha. Yi Yunji was speechless, although she really didn't wish to cause her old dad further upset. How are we going to repay the monthly debt of 100,000? Dad, if we depended on your thin earnings, I don't suppose it could even make up a fraction of that amount. Yi Junpo froze and instantly felt as though he had fossilized and cracked into pieces. He had forgotten there was still a debt to be paid. Don't panic, Dad. Return the equipment you bought and let the staff go. Get back whatever money you can and repay the debt. What if there isn't enough? Yi Yanxi combed her fingers through her hair, revealing a tender and pale ear in the process. She stared into the distance calmly, looking completely untroubled and unfazed. She was like an open book. We'll think of something if we don't have enough. We won't be defeated by a small matter like this. It was just a debt. Although 2 million wasn't a small sum, it wasn't as if they couldn't get past it. Yi Yunxi was someone who had experienced the cruelty of war. Hence, from her perspective, anything that wasn't a matter of life and death was no big deal. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Right, let's think of a solution. Under her influence, Yi Yunji found his own mood lightening up. Dad, let me try getting a part-time job. We will find a way. Even Yi Junpo found himself tearing uncontrollably. He had thought that his life would come to an end today, but his precious daughter was right. How could they be defeated by a small hiccup? Besides, wasn't he a man? He had to be stronger than his daughter. After dinner, Yi Junpo went out to resolve what was necessary. Yi Yunxi soaked herself in a bath to relax her aching body. Fitness value 1. Evidence that the long-distance running Yi Yunxi did today was useful. It looked like she had to keep training. Meanwhile, in the Yi clan headquarters, Yi Jianxing was looking through the list of members of the Sword of the Empire in the current year. From the top-ranking D family to the bottom-ranking Helian family, there were more than 100 families, but the Yi family was not amongst them. They missed out again this year. Uncle, Yi Junlai stood in front of the elderly man respectfully. We have to appoint the successor. Otherwise, we'd never make it onto the list of Sword of the Emperor. Yi Jianxing said with an air of indifference, I heard that Wanting came in last in the recent exercise, and she even broke a leg. Yi Wanting had broken a leg over something as simple as a middle school level exercise. Would she really be able to take on the headship role in the Yi clan? Uncle, that was an accident, Yi Junlai said anxiously. You are aware of Wanting's capability. Among the youths of the Yi bloodline, she is the most outstanding. Yi Jianxing said with a wave of his hand, we'll wait 2 more years. The youngster is not of age yet. Even if she were to be appointed the successor, she has to be of age. Given the situation, Yi Junlai did not wish to say more. As for the fact that Yi Yunxi had broken his daughter's leg, he wasn't even thinking of mentioning it at all. Yes, uncle, but no matter how long we have to wait, a piece of trash will always be a piece of trash, and likewise, a talent will always be a talent. Having said this, the man turned to go, leaving Yi Jianxing alone, deep in thought. Meanwhile, in the D residence, the old master of the D family had a spread of photographs before him of young girls to be match-made. He slid these pictures towards D Junxi and said, we, the D family, have never been a people who dilly-dallied on anything. To think that at your age, you haven't got a marriage partner identified. Your father had this done when he was in junior high school. It was the D family's rule to be early movers. Hence, no matter what, they had to force the boy to identify a partner. Young Master D briefly scanned the pictures with no interest and turned to return upstairs. These women took to him like flies around a piece of meat, buzzing incessantly. He didn't wish to be with such women, but with only one exception. He thought about the girl on the training grounds. The one who laughed so haughtily even when she was down to her underwear. D Junxi smiled faintly and threw open his closet. All his clothes were gone, and in place of that, pictures of young girls surrounded him, carrying information about their physical statistics and family background. D Junxi didn't know what to say. He slammed the closet door shut and threw open his bed cover. On the sheets were the same, covered with matchmaking photographs. Damn it! The young man's expression turned ugly. At the same time, the old master's voice rang faintly from the doorway. I want to see a granddaughter-in-law this month, or else. The old man's eyes flashed. If not, you will see these pictures everywhere you go. I understand. The boy frowned. His wickedly charming face was showing a hint of displeasure. However, his answer made the old master happy. Since the boy said that he understood what it meant that he heard what was told of him. It looked like there was still some hope in seeing a granddaughter-in-law within the month. He wondered which family this girl would come from. When the old man left, D Junxi loosened his collar and sat on the chair. It wasn't that he was afraid of the old man, it was just annoying. However, Yi Yunxi, D Junxi drew in a deep breath. His head was filled with the images of that pretty figure he couldn't shake off. This was by far the one girl he didn't find annoying. Let it be her then. He raised his dark eyes, his icy expression gave way to one of many enchanted amusements. Let's see if you can make an escape this time around. Yi Yunxi woke up in pain. There was no way her frail body could have put up with the amount of exercise it had gotten the day before. Her muscles protested in soreness, and she could hardly raise herself. However, for something like exercise, one needed to persevere, otherwise, the pain would be in vain. Gritting her teeth, she made an exchange for 10 points of physical strength, put on her clothes, washed up, and went for her morning workout. She followed her previous exercise plan, to build a foundation by running, and then she would be able to start other sorts of training. Every step she took caused her muscles to demur in pain. Yi Yunxi clenched her jaw and persisted in her exercise. The system took all this into account and couldn't help but remark, "Great host, do stop and rest if you're tired." As a system, have you any idea where the limits of a human being lie? The system remained silent. It faltered for the third time. The limits of a human being. It didn't seem like an answer to this existed in the database. Yi Yunxi took in big gulps of air as she ran. A human being's limits are in their own hands. If one feels they can't do it, then they won't be able to do anything. So I will not rest. This is not my limit. Although it was just a system, it secretly felt that its host was rather dashing. Fortunately, it managed to hold itself back in time. Otherwise, it would have contributed awesomeness expressed to her again. It was only after Yi Yunxi had had an hour of morning exercise, washed up, and eaten her breakfast that Yi Yunji got out of bed. He yawned as he stared at his little sister in wide-eyed amazement. "You went for morning exercise? Are you all right?" His little sister, who had always been weak and feeble, had gone out to exercise on her own free will? "Because I want to reinvent myself." Yi Yunxi calmly smiled while picking up her satchel in one hand as she turned to leave the house. Her long hair brushed against her eyes. Yi Yunji caught a quick glimpse of her exquisite side profile. In Yi Yunji's memory, he had never seen his sister possess this much vitality and vigor before. She was beautiful, extremely dazzling. His little sister was as brilliant as the sun. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. When their exercise ended, the students streamed back to school. Yi Yunxi strolled along the route to school. The path was lined by shady pine forests on both sides, and once in a while, she would see elderly people with swords across their backs, coming and going as they went about their morning training. "Oh look, isn't that our trashy little sister Yi Yunxi?" Lu Wenwei, leading a bunch of boys, stepped right into Yi Yunxi's path. They started to scoff at and taunt her. "You must have come in last again in the exercise, right? Really, why didn't the teacher transfer you to our zone's competitive team? All of us would have been promoted." "Ha ha ha, that's right. With this piece of trash, none of us will ever come in last." Sigh, Sun Chao's team is so lucky. Yi Yunxi looked up with an indifferent expression. Even in her previous life, she was quite uninhibited. Simply put, she was more like a hooligan in nature than a prim and proper person. Thus, if someone were to hue and cry in front of her, she wouldn't just obediently observe the rules and do nothing, she would retaliate. However, these boys had no self-awareness and continued to hurl insults loudly. Yi Yunxi shook out her wrists. Her eyes slowly scanned over them, wondering who her first victim should be. "Hey, are you guys bullying Yunxi again?" A petite figure dashed in front of Yi Yunxi, shielding and protecting the girl behind itself. It was an adorable figure with long curly hair, an upturned nose, and imposing round eyes. It was like a fierce little lion baring its teeth. It was Helian Moxie, the girl's childhood buddy. When the Yi family bore the status of the Sword of the Empire, they and the Helian family had been on good terms. The two girls had known each other since they were young, and even when the Yi family lost their status as Sword of the Empire, their friendship continued. Since Yi Yunxi was weak, Helian Moxie did her best to protect her, so she suffered her fair share of bullying herself. "Oh, look, it's Helian Moxie. Your family's last on the list of the Sword of the Empire, so if you don't work harder, you would be the next Yi Yunxi." Ha 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 ha. Helian Moxie trembled in anger after hearing their insults, and said, I said you're not to say anything bad about Yunchi. She lunged at the boys furiously as they fled. One of them tugged at her curly hair and another at her school satchel. Healy and Moxie looked more like a rabid dog baring her fangs at those who rubbed her the wrong way. She simply could not deal with this and started running in circles. Suddenly, someone yanked off her satchel and tossed it upwards. It flew in an exaggerated arc and ended up hanging from a branch at the top of the pine tree, swinging to and fro. Healy and Moxie panicked. She stood on tiptoe and stretched out her hand. However, it was a tall tree, and there was nothing she could climb onto to help her retrieve the bag. She got even more anxious. The boys gathered by the side to watch, and although Healy and Moxie was on the verge of tears, they stood there laughing. We have tools, would you like some help? Lu Wenwei took out a slingshot and teased her. Shoot it off the tree if you can, ha. Healy and Moxie was terribly anxious. How could she go to school without her school satchel? She snatched the slingshot from the boy and picked up a pebble. She made a few shots, but unfortunately, the satchel would not budge. The satchel was hanging way too high, and the girl didn't have the strength to retrieve it. Her shots didn't get anywhere close to it, much less knock it off the branch. Being able to hit the tree branch was already a huge accomplishment. The boys laughed even harder now and would not stop agitating her. Give it another shot. Give it another shot. You can't even knock it off the branch. You're just as much a piece of trash like Yi Yunchi. To think you're a member of the Sword of the Empire, you'd better give up your place to us. We've given you the tool, and yet you still couldn't retrieve your satchel, trash. Healy and Moxie's eyes reddened after hearing these taunts. She bit her lip. Yunchi was not a piece of trash, and neither was she. These guys were plain bullies. Why do you guys have to bully Yunchi? If you're so capable, go pick on others. Healy and Moxie was almost in tears. Then a hand reached over her and took the slingshot from her. The soft fingertips brushed against the top of her head in a comforting way. Then, Moxie saw Yi Yunchi's slim figure swinging lightly past her so that she was now standing behind her friend. Let me do this. A silky mop of long hair swept past her eyes as she heard those words. Healy and Moxie was moved, more so than she had ever been in the past. Yunchi was protecting her? That was so dashing of her. Ha, the piece of trash wishes to give it a try? Peeved. Can she even make it fly? Don't hit yourself with it, ha ha ha. Everyone burst out laughing. Yi Yunchi, on the other hand, calmly held up the slingshot, aimed, and fired. Everyone waited to be entertained. With a whoosh, the pebble struck the branch squarely as though it had eyes and knew where to go. The bag swung to and fro once and then fell right into Yi Yunchi's arms. Everyone was stunned. Freaking hell. Was that cheating? Could anybody have done that? Lu Wenwei looked at Yi Yunchi, completely stunned. He lifted his gaze and checked out the height of that branch from the ground. Then, he looked at the slingshot. Instantly he was filled with wonder. A fluke? That was faked, wasn't it? Hey, you guys. Yi Yunchi looked at them icily with compellingly dark eyes. The boys went numb on their scalps. What is it? Punishment? Yi Yunchi held up the slingshot with an icy smile on her face. Bad children have to be punished? Pooh, punishment? What punishment? Seeing that the situation was not in their favor, the boys fled instantly. No one in the right mind would stay there and wait to be punished. Yi Yunchi raised the slingshot and aimed at the boys' buttocks. Peefed, PFFFT, PFFT. Each landed perfectly towards them. The shots were accurately and perfectly aimed, making the boys cry out in pain. What the hell, boss, my buttock hurts, mine too. Sob, sob, sobs. Oh, that really hurts. The boys were all rolling on the ground. With the slingshot in her hand, Yi Yunchi swung her arms as she slowly walked over toward them. Her eyes were filled with arrogance, but there was a gaudy smile on her face. The boys who were lying on the ground turned red as they started shaking with fear. A sudden urge to hail the queen. You guys. Huh? What now? Did she wish to whack them on the head till they had boils all over their forehead? Please don't, it really hurts. Great queen. Satchel. Satchel. The boys trying to suck up to her were stumped before they realized that their satchels were tossed upwards to decorate the pine tree. Then, pushing the slingshot back to them, she said, "This prop is pretty handy." After that, she turned and walked away. Everyone became silent. Their school satchels. Lu Wenwei stood up despite the pain he was in. He drew back the slingshot and fired a quick succession of shots. Not only did those shots miss the satchels, a straying pebble even caught one of the boys in the head. This is frustrating. He fired countless shots. His back was breaking, and his calves were spasming, but the satchels were still hanging on the tree. Big Brother Wen, how did that piece of trash manage to take it? Lu Wenwei was on the verge of a breakdown. How would I know? If we don't get them down soon, all of us will be late. Oh, no, oh my God. My satchel. Looking as though they were losing their sanity, they limped and staggered towards the tree in agony, their hands on their buttocks. No matter what, they had to get those satchels down there. Yi Yanxi, how did you do that? You are just too good at this. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. 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 Paying little attention to the system's feedback, Yi Yanxi stepped into the school campus. Everyone turned instantly to look at her. The girl looked picturesque, her eyes bright and refreshing, her lengthy hair catching everyone's eyes as they fall to frame her pale face. Is that Yi Yanxi? Why does she look so pretty today? Has she got makeup on? Even if she had makeup on, she's still a piece of trash. The ranking in the school doesn't depend on looks. But do you know, I heard Yi Wanting came in last in the Group C exercise. No way. Wasn't she poised for the top spot? I heard from the people in Group C that Yi Yanxi broke Yi Wanting's leg and overtook her just steps away from the finish line. My God, is that true? This piece of trash actually broke someone's leg in a fight? I didn't think she could snap a pair of chopsticks. They looked at her again. Everyone suddenly felt that not only was she pretty, but she was also indifferent and domineering. She broke Yi Wanting's leg. This piece of trash was really in deep trouble. Ding! Entering map. Empire Middle School. Pilot assignment. A new lease of life. Great host. Apart from coming to the top of the class, you can do anything else you wish. Go ahead and live your life. Yi Yanxi raised her eyebrow. System, aren't you so silly and amusing? Yanxi, I've arrived. Healy and Moxie was in another class, so they waved and parted ways. The people along the corridor were all staring at Yi Yanxi because she looked exceptionally pretty today. Is this person really Yi Yanxi? She has become so pretty all of a sudden? That's right, what's going on? Amidst all the whispering, Yu Ziying approached them. As the most attractive boy in Emperor City Middle School, wherever Yu Ziying went, there would be a commotion. He usually wouldn't even give Yi Yanxi a glance. However, since she was suddenly looking so pretty today, he was compelled to stop in his tracks. He said icily, Yi Yanxi, don't waste your effort. It's useless even if you were to put on makeup. There's no way I'll like you even if we're engaged. Yu Ziying and Yi Yanxi had a marriage contract. This happened when the Yi family was a member of the Sword of the Empire. Now that they had their status taken off them, naturally, the marriage contract was revoked. However, what was this? I'm merely walking along. Did I stir trouble with you? Do your parents know you're that narcissistic? Yi Yanxi rolled her eyes. What sort of nonsense was he speaking? Oh, the shamelessness. What did you say? Yu Ziying fumed. Was this her way of trying for his attention? I'm telling you, no matter what method you use, I'll not be attracted to you. I'll only find you disgusting. That's good then because the feeling's mutual. Yi Yanxi chuckled, turned around, and went back to class. Nitpicking and getting into a fight with a retard would only lower her intelligence. Everyone became stunned. Had this piece of trash gone mad? This was Yu Ziying. Not only was he the most popular boy in school, but he was also a member of the Sword of the Empire. To Emperor City Middle School, members of the Sword of the Empire were definitely desirable students. She actually said the feelings were mutual. What right had she to feel that way? It was a complete insult to the most popular boy in school. Now, Yu Ziying had an ugly expression on his face as he stared at her. This piece of trash. What is she up to? However, no matter what she did, a disgusting person would always be a disgusting person. One could only say that the great popular Yu was overly imaginative. Yi Yanxi honestly couldn't care less about him. Her duty now was to put her best effort into being a great student. She took out her books and swept a glance over them, then she tossed them aside. The content was so elementary that it was not worth a mention. On the other hand, her legs hurt. Since she was in class, perhaps she should just give herself a massage treatment to relieve her pain. While everyone was paying attention in class quietly, Yi Yanxi was giving herself a massage. The subtle sound coming from her made a few people turn around to look. This hit a nerve with the teacher, and she blew her top. The chalk in her hand snapped instantly. Although this student was not good at her studies in the past, she would at least pay attention in class. What was she doing now, though? Yi Yanxi, stand up. It looks like you already know the lesson. Come here then. Analyze this tactical question. If you can't answer it, then you'll remain standing. Several people sniggered at this remark. Serves her right for massaging herself during practical. The teacher was punishing her on purpose. As everyone waited to watch the entertainment unfold, Yi Yanxi glanced at the board and said nonchalantly, "This battle doesn't even employ any heavy weaponry. So one only needs to use the classic 3x3 system strategy and work around it. The battle could be won in under 2 hours. Freaking hell. What is she talking about? What the hell was a 3x3 system strategy? Was that even mentioned in the textbooks? Everyone started to flip through their textbooks frantically. Indeed, it wasn't mentioned at all. Yi Yanxi, you're just making a wild guess. If the students didn't know, it would be because they hadn't learned it yet. However, the teacher, Wan Bin, would surely know. When he heard her answer, he trembled. 3x3 system was the sort of topic that would only be covered in schools like Zhenyao. Zhenyao was a school directly affiliated with Royal Duke University, popular among the elite class. People who studied there were the best among the Sword of the Empire families. How could this piece of trash possibly know about the 3x3 system? That piece of trash must be talking nonsense. Even the teacher is trembling from fright. Yi Zhongwen burst out laughing, and at once, everyone followed. Ha ha ha, for sure. What 3x3 system? She should watch her limit even if she was just speaking nonsense. Trash will always be trash. Shut up, what are you laughing at? Wan Bin shouted. Everyone fell silent. That's it. The teacher is angry. Yi Yanxi, you're in trouble. Everyone waited to watch how Yi Yanxi would get into trouble, but unexpectedly, Wan Bin's fury came right at them. You bunch of trash. What are you laughing at her for? That was the correct answer. Was that correct? The students flipped through their books frantically. Still, nothing. It can't be, teacher. That's not the answer in the books. How could that be correct, then? This is the answer from Zhenyao, the answer from Royal Duke, the answer from the perspective of all practical combat. Good lord, Yi Yanxi, how did you know this? Is the Yi family regaining their Sword of the Empire status? Wan Bin was elated. Had he actually managed to nurture such an intelligent student? Now, having heard their teacher, all the students in the class became stunned. This was Zhenyao's correct answer. That glorious Zhenyao availed only to the best talents and most academically inclined. In other words, Yi Yanxi was not a piece of trash, she was a straight A student? Ding! Awesomeness Express plus 10. 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 There were a total of 32 students in the classroom, 33 if one included the teacher. The system alert went off 32 times. Ding, ding, ding it went. It gave Yi Yanxi a splitting headache. Don't ring in the future if it happens that many times. Yes, great host. The system was utterly smitten by her wholly and now idolized her. This great host was crazily and lastingly cool. Her awesomeness express was skyrocketing and increasing many folds. It had gone up 30 times. Ooh, Lala, how dashing and impressive. Great host, you've earned yourself lifetime fans. Now I can show off to my colleagues during the New Year party. Ha 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 ha, just thinking about it makes me feel good. Ding, awesomeness express +10. The system abruptly fell silent. Freaking hell, I've accidentally contributed awesomeness express to my host again. I shouldn't be doing this, otherwise, my hands should be chopped. Mr. System made a severe oath that it would not contribute awesomeness express to its host again. However, as reality had shown, there was nothing much the lowly servant could do, and it wasn't just plain talk. After class, Yi Yunxi sat at her desk and continued to massage her legs. The people looked at her in a completely different light now. Even Wang Tingting and Sun Chao sauntered over and asked, "Yunxi, you're impressive. You were even better during the competition. Can we study together in the future?" Yi Yunxi nodded and said, "Sure." However, she didn't really need to study since she knew all the basics. "And can we be on the same team during physical education class? I think it's horseback combat today." Horseback combat was a battle simulation class. There would be 3 people in a team. 2 of them would play the role of a horse, carrying the third person in combat attack, until the opponent can throw the rider off the horse. Okay. Yi Yunxi nodded lazily, feeling a little lackluster, given this was not a real battle. Such things were chicken feed to her. After changing to their exercise shirts, they went to the field. Yi Yunxi glanced at them. They were against the second class for the riding war, and unluckily that narcissistic guy Yu Ziyoung was from the second class. At that moment, Yu Ziyoung looked away in distaste. She was indeed trying to let loose to get as far away from him as possible. She would definitely take the chance to look for him during the riding war, right? If this useless thing dared to go over, he would definitely throw her out. Yu Ziyoung was coolly enjoying all the towels and drinks his fans were passing to him. However, he didn't realize that his own eyes kept floating to Judge Yi Yunxi. He wanted to know what precisely this useless thing wanted to do. In the crowd, she was beautiful and confident. Her smile was captivating, and she was as beautiful as a bloomed flower. There was a little less decadence in her and more innocence. Although she was wearing the school uniform, it couldn't hide her tempting elegance. She was quite pretty. Ding, awesomeness express +10. When she saw the situation, Feng Shui shot a hostile glance at Yi Yunxi. This useless thing was seducing our Yi-young again. Sister Shui, Yi-young keeps looking at that useless thing. She's such a vixen. She dressed up so prettily, isn't it for the sake of seducing Yi-young? It's all right, we'll settle this during the riding war. As the president of the Yu Yi-young fan club, Feng Shui swore to retain Yi-young's purity. SL*TS and B*TCHES. Be gone. Sure. Once the teacher gave the order, all the students split into their teams and rushed into the playing field. When the competition had begun, both sides broke into an aggressive fight. Wang Tingting and Sun Chao were with Yi Yunxi, running and rushing everywhere in the crowd. In no time, Feng Shui rushed over with 2 teams and came straight for Yi Yunxi's face. She avoided their attack quickly, but she heard a loud slap below her. When she lowered her head, she saw that both Wang Tingting and Sun Chao had been slapped on their faces. Yi Yunxi, stay further away from Yi-young. Feng Shui secretly clenched her teeth. She was regretful that she didn't hit Yi Yunxi. However, there was no rush. They had 2 teams on their side. They would definitely be able to torture her. Charge! As her order was passed down, everyone crowded over. The people below her were punching and hitting Wang Tingting and company, while the people above were attacking Yi Yunxi with everything they got. Did they really think she was such a useless thing? You're all blind. She exchanged for 3 points of physical energy and started using all her skills. With agility, she avoided Feng Shui's slap and retaliated quickly with a slap of her own. Then, she grabbed her, hitting her head towards the face of someone else in the other team. Bam! The force of their heads hitting each other was so tremendous that both of them were about to get a concussion. The person on the back's nose started bleeding profusely after the collision as he started shouting in pain. Looking down, Yi Yanxi stepped on someone else's face to prevent them from hitting Wang Tingting. The person's palm stopped around the tip of Wang Tingting's nose. She was so scared that she closed her eyes and only opened them after realizing that nothing had happened. In front of her was Yi Yanxi's feet. She had stepped on the girl's face, and her face had even changed shape. There was a massive footprint on it. Tunchi helped her. Wang Tingting became excited. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Ting Ting, take action. Since they had already made their attack, why would they allow them to torture them further? Sure. Wang Tingting took action and started hitting everyone around her. Sun Chao was in an even worse state. Since he was a guy, 3 girls had surrounded him to attack. Yi Yanxi went over and directly kicked one till she flew away. Then, she slapped another girl's face hard. Then, she took advantage of their panic and led Wang Chao to terminate them. Everyone outside could see that the 3 teams were engaged in an aggressive fight. However, they couldn't see any small actions at all. They only saw that Fang Shui's team was like a tall building that had exploded and broke, collapsing in an instant and scattered all over the ground. They then turned to look at Yi Yanxi. She looked down at the failures below her feet. That superior look made her look as if she was a queen. My God, she was so dashing and charismatic. It made one feel like kneeling down and addressing her loudly as the queen. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. Ding! Awesomeness Express +10. There were a total of 63 people in the 2 classes. At least half of them were really impressed by her. The system had also received 30 notifications about the Awesomeness Express in an instant. Then, the system was stunned. On the first day that school had reopened, her Awesomeness Express had increased directly to 950. The saying about unlocking character attributes only after reaching 1000 Awesomeness Express and that 1000 Awesomeness Express was really hard to earn, what a joke. Hard to earn my ass. How many days has it been since the system was started? How many days has it been only? The Awesomeness Express of the host had already increased rapidly to 950. The previous hosts at least took a month. Now this host only took 2 days. It really wanted to flip a table. We won, we won. Only after someone shouted did Yi Yanxi realize that there were only the people of the 3rd class in the arena. As 2 teams were attacking Yi Yanxi at once, the 3rd class thus had an additional team. It was such a simple win. The people of the 2nd class couldn't help but feel unhappy. Fang Shui, what happened to you? It's all because you led 2 teams to fight that trash, Yi Yanxi. Otherwise, would we have lost? And all of you got beaten up so badly by that useless thing. Fang Shui's face was swollen and bruised, and she was really unhappy about it. Then, she looked at Yu Xiang again. She didn't know when, but the school's most handsome guy had his gaze tightly secured on Yi Yanxi. Xiang, Yu Xiang took a glance at her and immediately frowned in annoyance. Your face is so ugly now. Ugly. This word resounded countlessly in her ears. It instantly pushed Fang Shui into hell. Yi Yanxi, it's all your fault. You won't be let off. Yanxi, you're so amazing. I agree. We don't even have hands to fight. If it wasn't for you, we would have definitely lost. And beaten up really badly too. The others didn't know what had taken place, but Wang Tingting and Sun Chao knew. Both of them admired Yi Yanxi so much now. And you were so dashing when you were fighting during the practice too. I think that you're more dashing than the textbooks. Yanxi, can you teach us? Are you still taking in disciples? I'm willing to be filial to you and address you as master from now on. Sun Chao was even sneakier. He had already stuck out his hands to massage Yi Yanxi's shoulders. Forget about massaging my shoulders. Oddly, she had the illusion that she was a rich boss. No, I don't have any money to give you, but I can give you my body. Master, you can use it however you like. Yi Yanxi, why do those words sound weird? Forget it, just let him be. After school ended, the students left. Other than those high-class schools like Zhenyao, Empire Middle School was also a decent one. Many kids of rich families studied there. After school, there would be many lavish cars waiting outside to bring the students home. Yu Xiang stood in front of his Land Rover that cost more than $1 million and was looking back purposely to wait for Yi Yunqi. Although he hated that useless thing, she was really dazzling and eye-catching today. It prompted him to talk to her. He couldn't deny that this useless thing had indeed caught his attention. When he saw Yi Yunqi walk over, Yu Xiang blocked her way. He arrogantly nodded his chin and said, "Hey, you have successfully caught my attention. Get in the car, I'll send you home." Yi Yunqi. This person, did he send himself to get beaten up by her?